Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I have a delicious recipe for my version of Puerto Rican Camarones Al Ajillo. Camarones Al Ajillo is shrimp that's been cooked and smothered in a delicious, rich garlic butter sauce. So let's get into it. So for my Camarones Al Ajillo, I'll be using this shrimp. This is 1 pound of large raw shrimp. It has the tail off, it has been peeled, deveined, and if yours is not, make sure that your shrimp is all of those things prior to cooking. And real quickly, I wanted to show you the ingredients that I'll be using today. Here I have about 4 or 5 smashed garlic cloves. I feel like this is a good amount for 1 pound of shrimp. The more garlic you use, the more bitter it'll be, so 4 to 5 will be good. And then 1 tablespoon of some sofrito that I thawed up in the microwave. 1 small chopped white onion. I have about half a cup of green bell pepper that's been chopped, about 5 tablespoons of salted butter, a little bit of olive oil that I'll use to cook the shrimp. And here I have about half a cup of some orange juice. You can substitute for dry white wine. And then the juice of half of a lime. All right, now my shrimp is nice and thawed, and I also went ahead and dried it with some paper towels. And then prior to putting all of my shrimp in this bowl, I did check each and every one just to make sure that they're all actually deveined. Even though your bag may say deveined, sometimes they miss 1 or 2, so you wanna make sure you check for that. I'm then gonna go ahead and add about half a teaspoon of this Lori's Casero all-purpose seasoning. Feel free to use any garlic-based all-purpose seasoning such as Goya adobo, etc. And this is going to help further dry out my shrimp, because remember I mentioned that I patted my shrimp dry after it thawed. I want the shrimp to be as dry as possible because I'm going to sear this in some olive oil. And if the shrimp has some liquid on it, instead of searing, it's going to create steam in my pan. So yeah, I'm just gonna give this a quick mix. And a side note, I will have all of the ingredients listed in the description box below. Alrighty, I have my deep pan here and it is set over high heat. I have an electric stove, so this is between the 6 and the 7. And then to make sure to check that my pan is nice and hot, I wet my hand and I kind of splash it with water. And if the water evaporates immediately, that's how I know it is ready. So now I'm gonna add a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, just enough to kind of coat my pan. I don't wanna add too much. I'm not frying this shrimp. I'm just going to quickly cook it by charring it on both sides. The good thing with cooking shrimp is it cooks very quickly. And the key to having shrimp with really good texture is to not overcook it. So this is why I am cooking the shrimp before adding the rest of the ingredients. I'm gonna be cooking those ingredients separately and then add my shrimp. If you overcook shrimp, they'll become a little gummy and chewy. So this is a little tedious, but it is worth it. And after about 4 to 5 minutes, I'm gonna go ahead and flip over my shrimp. And as you can see, I am cooking this in batches because I do not wanna overcrowd my pan. If I overcrowd my pan, it's going to create steam and I'm not gonna get that sear that I want. So for me, for this 1 pound bag of large shrimp, it only took about 3 batches. Give them a good flip and continue the process on the other side. And now that my very last batch is done, I'm going to go ahead and remove it from my pan. And I find that with each consecutive batch, the sear becomes better and better. It gets like nice and charred, y como que bien quemadito y bien tostadito. If you know, you know. And yeah, and searing it also helps to enhance the flavor of the shrimp. All right, so all of those drippings at the bottom of my pan is going to come in handy for flavor. I'm then gonna add about 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil and about 5 tablespoons of butter. Feel free to add a little more butter if you like, or a little more oil. I find that the butter helps to balance out the acidity from the orange juice and the lime juice. So butter is a good thing. Do not add less than 5 tablespoons. Some recipes call for all butter. I use a combination of olive oil and butter because that's what I like personally, but feel free to adjust according to your taste and preferences. So after my butter is nice and melted, I'm gonna go ahead and add that chopped white onion. I'm gonna saute this until it's nice and translucent and fragrant. I am working very quickly because my pan is very hot. It is still set over high heat. I'm then gonna go ahead and add my chopped green pepper. You can use red pepper, no pepper, lo que sea. You make it your own. Stirring as I go. Then I'm gonna add just a little bit more seasoning. This is called, well, what I've seen in other videos, it's like layering, like seasoning in layers. You don't have to do this, but I like to do it. I find that it gives like the peppers and the onions or any other veggies that you're sauteing just a really nice flavor, a nice extra layer of flavor. I'm gonna go ahead and cook this until it's nice and tender before adding the rest of my ingredients. So now that my peppers and onions are nice and tender, I'm gonna go ahead and add my garlic. Don't add the garlic while you're cooking your peppers and onions at the very beginning because garlic cooks very fast and it's prone to burning. And once garlic burns, it tastes very bitter and it can ruin your dish. So make sure once you add it, you stir very quickly, as I'm doing here. And as you can see, some of the butter and the oil is starting to dry out. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a little more extra virgin olive oil, but feel free to add butter if you like. It will not hurt the recipe at all. Quite the opposite. Give it a good stir. You're just adjusting as you go. I'm also gonna add a tablespoon of some fresh sofrito. This part is optional. You do not need to add sofrito. The recipe will taste amazing without it, but why not, right? This is a Puerto Rican dish or Puerto Rican version of the dish after all. Then I'm gonna add that half a cup of orange juice. This is going to add a nice sweet citrusy kick and the juice of half a lime. You do not have to add the lime juice if you do not want this recipe to be too citrusy. However, if you add the lime juice and you find that it's a little too much for you, feel free to add more butter to balance out that acidity. It's all about playing with the flavors as you go. Smells incredible. Now I'm gonna add that shrimp from earlier. Look how beautiful it looks. That beautifully charred shrimp with that rich garlicky butter sauce, so good. Give it a good mix. And at this point, I have set my heat to very low heat, but you can also just turn off your stove because you do not want to overcook the shrimp. I'm also gonna add a little pinch of some black pepper. This is optional. And I'm good to go. And just like that, my camarones are good to go. I'll be enjoying this with some white rice, some freshly homemade tostones, and a little side salad. However, this recipe is wonderful for mofongo. I do have a recipe on how I make mofongo. I'll be linking that on the top corner of the screen for you guys. Feel free to follow that along with this recipe and you have the perfect meal. So thanks again for watching. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. And if you have not subscribed, please do so. Also, give this video a thumbs up. Hit that notification bell. I do push out fresh new content regularly, and I will see you next time.